Hello, everyone. Thank you for attending today's webinar. We appreciate your time today and hope that you will find this webinar both helpful and informative. You are currently in listen-only mode. If you have any questions or comments during the call, please use the dialog box on the right-hand side of your screen. We will have time at the end of the webinar to go over any questions that were asked. If we don't get to all the questions in the time that we have here today, we will email you back the answer as soon as possible. Also, if you have any other questions after we leave here today, you can always email me at info@adraft.com and I will get you the answer as soon as possible. Today's webinar is recorded and it will be on our website by the end of the day under webinar recordings. If you have any technical questions or issues during the call, you can call our office at 585-389-1900. During this webinar, Greg Fisher, our ADRAFT AutoCAD and AutoCAD electrical expert, will be discussing some features inside AutoCAD electrical. If you would like any more information about this or any other Autodesk product, please contact me at info@adraft.com. I would now like to introduce Greg Fisher. Greg is an ADRAFT applications engineer with over 25 years of experience and a specialty in AutoCAD electrical. Greg is ADRAFT's go-to AutoCAD guy and one of the few people in the country that knows AutoCAD electrical as well as he does. I will now hand it over to Greg.
Thank you, Sherry. Let's talk about templates and title blocks. What we're going to talk about today is mainly the most efficient way for you to get started in AutoCAD electrical as far as projects are concerned. There's different ways to do it besides the way that I'm going to talk about it, but if anybody has been in one of my classes or seen one of my demos, I like to steer people in this direction. So we're going to talk about some of the best practices for creating project templates. We're going to talk about creating drawing templates, which is the AutoCAD DWT file format that some of you already might be familiar with. Very popular way to create drawings inside of regular AutoCAD, but very important with AutoCAD electrical. We're going to talk about why it's so important to use template files inside of AutoCAD electrical, because it drives your standards, it drives your company standards, your customer standards. So we're actually going to create one. We're going to include those standards in our drawing templates. We're also going to talk about the project properties that would be associated to a project template. Again, you're going to build your standards into the projects to match what you have in the drawings. And then finally, we're going to go through a title block setup where we map the attributes from an AutoCAD block to the project. Without it, it's almost impossible to create a title block and link it to a project and have it automatically update, which is one of the main features of the software itself. And then we are going to demo and go through a question and answer session after the fact. So some of the best practices for creating project templates are the project properties. Very, very important when creating template projects. It's extremely important that you get all your company standards. When I talk standards, I mean properties inside of the software itself. And that can consist of your component, your wire numbers, your cross-reference, your drawing format. So when you place a, component down onto a drawing, if it was a push button and you wanted to read the reference number, it would be PB plus the reference number. Or do you show the reference number before the label? You determine what your standards are, whether they're reference, whether they're sequential, same with wire numbers. What are your company standards? What are your customers' company standards? Build this into the project properties so you don't have to modify it when you're in design mode. And the same with the cross-reference standard and the drawing format. These all go into project properties. And then the title block setup is included in the project. That's why we create a template project in the first place, because once you create it once, you'll never have to create it again. It's just literally a copy from one project to another. Included in the title block setup, I'm going to discuss the WDL and the WDT files. Those are two files that you need to actually link and map a title block to a project. We're also going to talk about creating the drawing templates, very similar to your project properties, and they're common between project and drawing. It's extremely important that you build your company standards into the drawing properties. Once again, it can consist of components, wire numbers, cross-reference detail, drawing format, but it's also going to include wire types. You don't want to be creating wire types every single time you create a new drawing. They should already be there, all part of a drawing template, which is a DWT file format inside of AutoCAD. Some of you might be familiar with it and using it with AutoCAD, but it's a must inside of AutoCAD Electrical. And that will move us on to an actual title block setup. We're going to show you how you can link an AutoCAD block. Doesn't need a special name, doesn't need any special attributes, but you're going to take that block with the attributes and map it to a project. Without this, you don't get all the automatic or any of the automatic title block update utilities. Once again, the WDL file is extremely important when you map the attributes to a project during a title block setup. The WDT file automatically gets created once you've mapped the attributes to the project. It's the title block setup. Okay, enough of the boring PowerPoint. We're going to move on to the demo, but before we do, we just want to thank you for your business. It's that time of the year, holiday season. We wish everybody a Merry Christmas and Happy Holidays over the break. But before we start, we want to take a minute and thank you for your business and trust that we truly try to keep your business interests at heart. That's why we do these webinars. Speaking on the AutoCAD Electrical side, if you aren't successful with a project with template drawings, you're never going to be successful with the software. So we try to keep your interests, your best interests at heart there. We might not always agree. You might have a better way. You might like to do it a better way than we do. But we're always going to keep those best interests at heart and try to keep you informed on all the new technology and different options that are out there available to you. Okay. Moving right along. I'm inside of AutoCAD Electrical, as you can see right now. And I'm going to really kind of start from scratch here. Let's say it was the first time you ever sat down to the software. You want to dive in and create a new project. Then I'm going to show you, I've already got a template project created, but I've got template drawings created. So to save time, obviously, I'm going to show you the examples that are already created. But when you first sit down in the software, and I'm sure many of you, this is not the position you're in, you might be using the software for a while. But it's like, where do you start? I want to create a new project. That's all well and good. But after I create a new project, I need to create new drawings that belong to that project, which means I need a template file. This is an AutoCAD DWT file format. If I look over here right now at this A draft template project, and I want to create a new drawing, as you can see, I can't create it without providing it a template. Now, the actual process of creating a DWT file is the easiest thing you'll ever do. What can be a little bit time consuming is putting the template together before you actually save it. Now, I just have a dumb drawing open right now. And let's say I want to turn this into a template. Well, the first thing I probably want to do is insert a title block. I need a title block to go along with my drawings. So I'll just go to my regular insert command, hit the browse button, select this template, insert it at 00, nothing big going on there. So now I've got a title block. Obviously, this was already created, and it is just a regular block with attributes. If I double click on this, outside of the AutoCAD Electrical norm, as you can see, it's just a regular block with attributes. So now I want to think about what do I need to do? What do I need to build into this to actually make it an AutoCAD electrical template that I can use inside of a project? Well, first of all, what I would normally do is go up to the Create Edit Wire Type command, or you could go to the Drawing Properties first, either or. As soon as I hit Drawing Properties, it's going to give me an alert. Anytime you see this alert, it just means that you haven't tried to execute any AutoCAD electrical commands, whether you're inside of a project or not. By inserting this invisible block, it just automatically inserts a bunch of layers and predefined properties and settings and things like that. As soon as I say OK, it takes me right to the command itself. So when I go to the drawing properties, the most important feature are components, wire numbers, cross-referencing, and the drawing format. This is what I was referring to in a PowerPoint, talking about drawing standards. In this particular drawing, when I lay down a push button, a relay, a proc switch, whatever, the family code is going to come first. So if it was a push button, that'd be the PB. Then it's going to look at the sheet number and the reference number next to it. Very popular, common way of placing components down in North America nowadays. We see less and less sequential setups, but it doesn't matter. Whatever your standards are, whether you put a dash in between these, whether you put the sheet number before the family, it's your standards. This is what you want to build into a drawing template, so you never have to go here anymore. Wire numbers, same thing. I place down a wire number, it's going to read the sheet and reference number. If I want to change the suffix setup from numbers to letters or vice versa, this is what you're going to build into the template. So every single time you create a new drawing, you don't have to come here and change anything. Cross-reference, that's usually, the cross-reference style that you're going to use. This is set up for a text format. If your standards require a table format, then you would change it to a table format. Create whatever format you want. These are your company standards. They get built into the drawing properties. And then the other big one, I just say big one for templates, is the format referencing. We always recommend using sheet and numbers. That way, when you plug in a sheet number in the drawing, which I'll do, that's automatically going to be the first number in all your reference numbers. So the sheet number would get plugged into here as you create the drawing itself. The other big one is your wire types. If I were to use this as a template right now, the only thing it's going to provide me is with one default wire layer. This is how not to set up the template. Pick your format. What is your company standard as far as, what you want to think about here is it's going to create wire layers. Those wire layers come up in reports. So if you want to see a point-to-point from to report where you list the size of the wire first, followed by the color, and then maybe a type, you want the color first, size second. Do you want underscores in between? These are your drawing standards. So I'm just going to change up here. I'll say %S space %C space %1. So now when I go up here and fill in the wire color, as soon as I start to type it in, the wire layer name is going to reflect whatever I have in the format down here. I'll say 14 on the size, and for the type, I'll call this AWG. And I'm just going to fill a couple in here so you get the feel for it. You can also assign an actual color to the layer. So when you actually draw it in the drawing, you see that particular color. And I'll just add one more We'll call this WHT 14 AWG. Now, this can be the time-consuming part about creating a template. Remember, you're adding this to a template, but where it pays off is every single time you start a new drawing now, it's going to be loaded with all the different wire sizes, colors, types that you use. You don't want to be creating wires every single time you start a new drawing. That would not be very efficient. And we usually recommend for your drawing templates loading this up to the till as far as how many combinations of sizes and colors of wires that you use. You can also put your most popular ones in the template, then maybe add one here or there as you need it. But you should never have a drawing template where you have one wire layer. You're wasting your time. So let's say I would continue on and fill out 50 of these. I'll pick OK. So now I've got drawing properties built into this with all my company standards. I've got wire types built into this. I'm going to show you some examples where I've created templates where the reference numbers are already in place, where I have circuits already in place. You can build anything you want into a template. Now, the actual process of creating a template, like I said, easiest thing you'll ever do, go up to the application menu, save as, call it a drawing template. Now, for some reason, the dialog box disappeared. Hold on a minute. Let's see. There we go. And we know that can be kind of an anomaly as well. Don't know what happened, why it didn't bring up my dialog box, but I just changed the variable back to 1 and I'm fine. Now I'm just going to save this to my AutoCAD projects and I can call this, we'll call it, since it's that time of year, Christmas drawing template. Hit save. Now with a template, what's different, you know, when you're creating or copying a drawing is you're going to fill in a description. This can come in handy if you're using regular AutoCAD in Design Center. You're not going to see the template description inside of AutoCAD Electrical, not at this time. Maybe they'll use it in the future. I'll just call this test for now. Click OK. Now I've got a drawing template. So like I said, the actual process of creating a template file, application menu, save as, drawing template. What can be time consuming is building your standards into it, building your wire types, building anything else that you want with it. So now I got a template. Now I got a template that I can use inside of an actual project. So I'm just going to bring up a blank drawing here to have running in the background. Now let's say I create a project. Now, some people will tell you, you know, they use the new project command created right here in your project manager. I haven't used this command in probably 10 years. The only way I'll create a new project is to copy an existing one. It could be one like this where I have one drawing in it. That's it. But it has all of my standards built into it. It could be, you know, a project that has several drawings in it. As long as that project was created with your template project in the beginning, you'll be fine. But you're going to get to a point where you have similar designs. Obviously, you want to copy those projects, you know, and make modifications because it's easier than starting from scratch. But if you have a brand new design, not much you can use from another project, make sure you have a template created for that. So, but as an example, I'm going to tell you why I use the copy project instead of the new project. I'll hit new project. I'll give it a name. Call it Christmas again. Location. Let's see. Nope. I'm going to move this to my F drive. AutoCAD Projects 2018. And we'll create a new folder inside of here. Actually, no, I don't need to do that because that's going to create one with it. So, copy settings from project file. This is a good tool, but it doesn't include everything, which is the reason why I don't use the create new project command. And I'm going to show you here in a minute. Here it's using my A draft template project. So it's going to copy all the project properties from that when I'm creating this new project. And I'll say OK properties right here. And if I look, you know, this is where you would normally want all of your project libraries pointed in the right direction. But you're going to see components, you're going to see wire numbers, you're going to see cross-reference, you're going to see drawing format. You just saw all of these at the drawing property level. Now what the difference here is when you place these at the project property level, every single time you create a new drawing, it's going to ask you if you want to apply the project defaults. Normally you would say yes, as long as you have the project property set up correctly. Then you might be saying, well, why are they repeated at the drawing level? They're repeated at the drawing level because it will allow you to make modifications inside of a single drawing without having to affect every other drawing in the project. So that's why you see these both. And what I try to do is I try to make whatever I placed at the project level the same at the drawing level. That way, you know, if it asks me to apply the project default values, in reality, you should be able to say yes or no. I still always say yes, but in reality, you should be able to say yes or no. So these are all the project properties, and you're going to see more of them at the project level than you do at the drawing level. As an example, the component tag option and component options down here, this would affect every single drawing in the project. Wire numbers. Every single time you see this icon, that means it affects the whole project. Every single time you see this icon, it affects the project in a default way, but you can still change individual drawings. So build your company standards into the project properties just like you do for the drawing properties. So I say, okay. Now, as you can see, I got a brand new project. Got nothing in it. If I right click on this, go to properties, you're going to see the same things that I just had up here. If I right click on this, and I go to descriptions, now put your title block hat on for a minute. This should never say line 1, line 2, line 3, blah, blah, blah. This is the dialog box that controls how you map your attributes from a title block to the project. If you leave this as line 1 through whatever, you aren't going to know if this is the slot that's dedicated to the drawn by, the checked by, the engineering number, the title. You got no idea. So when I created a new project with the new project command, even though I told it to copy properties, it didn't copy any of the title block setup. That's why I create the template project, use that to create new ones, and you're going to see this in a minute, and then it will copy all of the title block information to go along with it. If I did wanted to add a drawing to this project, I go to my new drawing command, give it a name, go pick a template that I want to use. I'll pick the one that I just created. Here's that template that I just created. Pick open. We'll call it sheet 1. Click OK. Here's where it's asking me to apply the default settings. Like I said, I always say yes, but in reality, as long as your template properties match the project properties, you should be able to say yes or no. So I created my new one. And notice it says no WDT file or WDTB attribute found. There is no title block setup for this project right now. That's what we need to cure. But anyway, I created my new drawing. Let me refresh here so I can actually see it in the project manager. And if I go to the create edit wire type, the only reason why those are there is I built them into the template. Wire types, you should have a lot more than just 2. We're just doing a quick demonstration here. If I go to the drawing properties, the component format is set up the way that it had in my template, the wire numbers, the cross-reference, the drawing format. All of this is coming from the template that I used to create the drawing. This is where you build your company standards into the properties, so you never, it's kind of stuff you just don't want to mess with when you're in design mode. You want to design circuit, you want to attach part numbers to symbols, blah, blah, blah. You don't want to be messing with properties. That's why it's so important that you build them into the template file itself and the template project itself. Now, we're going to move over to the title block setup at this point. Like I just said, if I go to descriptions, I get a bunch of generic line 1 through whatever. Your very first order of business when you create a title block setup is to create what we call the WDL file. I'm going to open up Windows Explorer real quick here. And if I take a look at this, here's my A-Draft template project. This one's all set. You're going to see this WDL file. You also are going to see a WDT file. If I look at the project that I just created, there's no WDT, there's no WDL. Now, the reason why it's so important that you create that WDL first is it dictates what the dialog box is going to look like when you hit this descriptions button. So think of it as, how do I want to get prompted? If I'm looking at this title block right here, do I want it to ask me, for the product name first, for the part name, for the part number? Then go to drawn by date, checked by. It's how do you want to get prompted when you're looking at this dialog box? That's what you want to think of the WDL file, and you want to think of it as you have to have it because when you go through the title block setup, you're going to need to map the proper product name attribute, part number attribute, blah, 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 inside the project. So right now I'm going to cheat a little bit for time purposes, just to show you what it's going to look like. But if I go back to the A-Draft template and I copy this WDL and I paste it into here, then the first thing I'm going to do, and this is extremely important when you create that first WDL file, the name of it has to, before the underscore, has to be the exact same name as the project name. So this one's going to be Xmas _ WDtitle.wdl. If I open this up, it's just a text file. Oop, got it on my other screen. There it is there. That's all this is. Where you pull up descriptions inside of the project, instead of it saying line 1, I want it to say product 1. Instead of it saying line 2, product 2, so on and so forth. Now this is what that dialog box is going to look like. Excuse me. So if I go back inside the project, right click, descriptions, product 1, product 2. It doesn't just say line 1, line 2, line 3, blah, blah, blah. So now I could fill this in as to what that information is. Now the other reason why that WDL file is so important when you're going through a title block setup is when you actually create the mapping between the attributes and the project. All we've done so far is adjust a dialog box. That's it. Now I'll go to the project tab. I'll go to the title block setup. I'll leave it at the project level. I'll pick the block that I want to use. So now I can take product 1 and link it to the actual attribute product 1. I can take product 2 and actually link it to that attribute. Part 1, part 2. You know, I could go over here, grab the scale. So I'm not going to go through every single one of these just to save time, but what you're doing is you're taking the attributes that are already built in.
I think we're good. Sorry.
You want that. Can you see?
Okay.
We're almost through this.
Hold on, everybody.
One more
Sorry. Don't know what happened.
Just gotta make sure we can still see my screen.
Yep. You can hear.
Okay, what about the screen?
Can you see the screen too?
We're checking with somebody else here in our office, guys. Sorry about that. Can you see my screen?
It looks like it's frozen. Your cursor's not moving. I think the internet went out and came back on.
Right.
Let me look again.
Thank you. Sorry, everybody. Not sure what happened.
I see your cursor spinning around on it now.
Okay.
I think you might be back.
There we are. Good. All right. Sorry about that, everybody. Technical difficulties. So. What I actually just did there is I created the WDT file. During the PowerPoint, I talked about the WDL, the WDT. That's what goes into creating, you know, your title block setup. You don't have to create the WDT. The WDT is going to get created for you the first time you go through the title block setup command. The WDL is a different story. You have to create that for the first time, one time only, manually. There's a few WDL files in all the demo projects that you get when you install the software. So usually when I'm doing this for a customer, I'll copy one, modify it. At least I've got the correct format, but it's just a text file. Once that's created one time, both of these for that matter, when you use the copy project command to create new projects, those automatically will get copied and renamed to the new project name. So you have to go through the title block setup once. You have to create a WDL file once. After that, you're good to go. If you do have to rely on your end user specs, like your customers, then you might have a title block set up, a template project, for the individual customers themselves. But if you get to dictate your own standards, you only have to do that once. So now if I come back here and I pick descriptions, let's say product, I don't know. I'm just going to fill in a couple things here. Pick OK. And then when I do update, just say select all along with the sheet max. So now, as you can see, the actual information just filled in for me there. But think about it. Without that WDL file, A, you wouldn't have known what attributes to map to what, and then B, this would still say line 1, line 2, line 3, blah, blah, blah. You wouldn't know where to actually fill in the information for material 1 because it would say line whatever. WDL file, extremely, extremely important. So if you're starting right out of the gate, that's how you want to set it up. Create a drawing template, create a project. Now this could be my template project that I could use to create other projects with. And to speed up some time, that's what I'm going to open up the A-Draft template project for. And finish this up with some examples of more templates. I always tell everybody, create as many templates as you want. So to start with, here's an A-Draft template project. I want to create a new project. I use this template project to do it. I would go to Copy, Project tab, Copy. Since it is the active project, I can pick Copy Active if it wasn't the active one, or if it's not even in my project manager listed, browse out to where the WDP file is. You're copying a project, you just grab the WDP file, and it copies all associated files with it. So I'll say Copy Active Project. And I would give it a name and a location, obviously. Let me just keep picking on this here. I'll call this Xmas 2. Do all, it's only one drawing, but look what it has. There's the WDP. There's the WDL. Think about when I created a new project using the new project command. It created the project, it copied properties from another one, but it did not copy the title block setup. That's why I use, one of the reasons why I use the copy project command. It also copies some other settings and properties that you don't even see for that matter. So you're a lot better off using the copy project command to create new projects. I'm going to cancel out of this. Just wanted to point that out. So now, let's say you've got a new project created by using a template project. Now, I guess I might as well just do it. Let's copy it for real. Copy active project. A-Draft template. Let me go up a level. We'll go to Xmas. We'll call this Xmas 1. Do all. edit the wire or the drawing number scheme. We'll just call this Xmas 1. Pick OK, select OK. So now I got a brand new project. Title block setups there, good to go. Come in, add new drawings, add new folders, do what I got to do with it. That's how you want to create new projects inside of AutoCAD Electrical. Now, once you've got one created, I'm going to show you, and this is the last thing I'm going to show you, just some different examples of templates that I've created. So let's say I want to start a new drawing and I want reference numbers in place already. I'm going to come up here, new drawing, file name, I'll call it Xmas 1-02. And for the sheet number, I'm going to make it 2. And for the description, let's say I call it 120 VAC. Template, I'm going to hit the browse button. And I'm going to go to where I have my templates stored, which in this case, we'll go to AutoCAD projects once again. So here's a bunch of templates that I've created. Blank one would be a good example of what I have open right now. And here's one with one ladder reference. I pick OK, I select OK. I want to apply the project default values. Drawing gets created. Reference numbers are already in place. Notice how they take on the page number. That's the standards that I built into it. That goes directly back to whether I'm at the project property or the drawing property. That goes right back to the drawing format. I'm reading sheet and numbers. So with this being sheet number 2, it automatically labels it 20001, blah, blah, blah. I got another template created. Let's say this time, I'll go back to new drawing. And we'll call this Xmas-03. I'll call it sheet value 3. And this time, by the way, you can have this default to a certain location so you're not browsing for your templates all the time. Here's one where I have, 2 reference numbers. So it's going to create my new drawing. Give me 2 columns of reference numbers. Once again, sheet numbers matching whatever I plugged in at the drawing level. I'm going to do one more. These are just examples of drawing templates. We'll call this Xmas 04. And description, I don't know, we'll call it 3-phase. It's going to be sheet 4. And this time I'm going to choose a template where I actually have a circuit already created inside of it. And this is what I talk about. I constantly stress, build anything you want into a template. Here's a brand new drawing. I just started it. Half of it is done already. If you use some of the same stuff in drawings, in projects, create a template out of it. You can create a template out of anything that you want. If it's a panel, you use a popular size enclosure. Create a template where the enclosure is already part of it. You create a new drawing, it's already there. Some people, when I did these, they might include in their template, instead of just the reference numbers, maybe a couple of wires, you know, that represent your hot and your neutral. There's that. You know, here's my neutral over here. Build this into the template so you don't have to draw your hot and neutral once it's already created. You know, PLCs, if you use a particular car and you've got 8 drawings of PLC modules for every single project, build it into a template. You hit that new drawing button, PLC module's already there, hot and neutral there. And it's just a matter of, you know, filling in your symbols. Build anything you want into a drawing template. So, that's about it. Like I said, some of you might know this already. Some of you might not be using it properly or to its full advantage. But, you know, use that copy project command to create your new projects. Obviously, make sure you have a template project that you can use, or you create the template project first. In the template drawings, they should always be a living, breathing item, meaning you're going to add new ones. Don't be shy about having 10 templates, depending on what you want it to do. Keep in mind, you can modify templates as well. If you want to modify a template, all you got to do is go to the regular AutoCAD open command, change it to the format. I'm already there at DWT, open up the template, modify it. When you open up a DWT, it's no different than having a DWG open itself. Okay, I guess I'll turn it over to questions. Do we have any questions?
If anybody has any questions, you can use the dialog box on the right-hand side of your screen. Greg can answer those for you. In the meantime, I just want to thank everybody for coming today. I know everybody's busy, especially, you know, trying to get things done before 2018, before the new year. If you have any questions after we leave here today, you can email me at info@adraft.com. You can also view this recording on our website, and it will be up there in probably an hour. I don't see any questions, so I will let everybody go. Hope you guys have a great holiday and have a great day. Thanks, everybody.
Thank you.